In this problem, I'd like to multiply 6 times 40 using the base block model. So when you see 6 times 40, you may think of that as you have 6 copies of 40. So to use a base block model to represent the number 40, what I'm going to do is use a rod to represent 10 units. Now in virtual manipulatives, that rod shows the distinct units inside of it, and you would see the actual 10 boxes making up a rod. But in this video, I want to show you how you could just draw a line like this to represent one rod, as long as you knew that one rod represented 10 units. So for example, the number 40 would be represented by 4 rods. One rod would be 10, a second one would be 20, another one would be 30, and another one would be 40. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rods, and each rod represents 10 units. So I have 10, 20, 30, 40 units here. And what I want to do is literally make 6 copies of that. Here would literally be a second copy of 40. Here would be a third copy. Here would be my fourth copy, my fifth, and finally my sixth copy of 40. So if you'd like, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 copies of 4 rods, or 6 copies of 40 units. And to multiply 6 times 40 then, I need only add these 40s together. So you could either add the number 40 6 times, or if you like it better, you could group these by tens, because we know that it takes 10 rods to equal 1 flat, and that 1 flat is equal to 100 units. So it would take 10 rods to make a flat, or 10 rods to make 100 units. You don't necessarily have to draw the flats if you don't want, but you at least need to group these into groups of 10. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here's 10 rods. If you want, that would be the equivalent of 1 flat, or 100 units. And then another grouping of 10 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So all of these rods, 10 of them, would be 100 units. If you want, you could draw a second flat. Not very visually appealing, but again, trying to emulate what you could do with just paper and pencil. If you did that, you'd have 2 flats, and you'd still be left with 1, 2, 3, 4 rods. So 2 flats would represent 200 units. So I'll put a 2 in the hundreds place, and then the 4 rods remaining would represent 40 units. So in this way, I've shown that 6 multiplied by 40 gives you 240 units. But you may be looking at a problem where one or both of these numbers are negative. So continue watching the video for me to show how you would do those. So if you know how to multiply 6 times 40 and get 240, you can actually use this result to get the answers to a variety of problems. So for example, here are all the variations on this problem. Your numbers can either be both positive, so they have the same sign, or they can be both negative, like in this example, so they'd have the same sign. Or the signs could be different, and there's 2 ways you could do that. The first could be negative, the second positive, or vice versa, first positive, second negative. So it turns out that the rules for multiplication are that if you're multiplying 2 integers with the same signs, then the answer will be positive. If you're multiplying 2 numbers that have different signs, regardless of which one's positive or negative, your final answer will be negative. So for example, if you multiply negative 6 times 40, you start by multiplying their absolute values. What would 6 times 40 be? Well, we've already done that problem. It's 240. Now we see that the signs are different. One's positive, one's negative, so that means my final answer should be negative. Here we have the same situation, just reverse. The first number's positive, the second number's negative. However, this still means that they have different signs, and since we are multiplying, the rules for multiplication is if the signs on the 2 numbers are different, you get a negative result. So this will also be negative 240. Finally, if they're both negative, you actually get the same result as if they were both positive. The rule is that you multiply the absolute values. 6 times 40 we've already found to be 240. Then you decide, are the signs the same or are they different? This is a negative 6 and this is a negative 40. Since they're both negative, they have the same signs, so the final result would be positive, so I'd leave the answer positive 240.